Winds, homes and properties burning right now. The images coming in and the horrific stories. The child running into her parents' room screaming, "The hill is on fire." We're in the fire zone tonight. Also the crippling blizzard tonight, the dangerous storm, treacherous driving, the sudden 60-degree drop, and the nor'easter targeting New York City and Boston, whipping winds and blinding rain. What to expect tomorrow morning? Rob Marciano with the new track. There is also breaking news involving the president's personal attorney. Two men helping Rudy Giuliani investigate Joe Biden in Ukraine under arrest tonight. The two men taken into custody at the airport with one-way tickets out of the U.S., reportedly hours after having lunch with Giuliani at the Trump Hotel. What they're charged with tonight. Their photographs with President Trump and his son, and the president responding late today. The alleged gunman who drove more than 600 miles from outside Dallas to El Paso in court for the first time. What happened in that courtroom today? 22 people were killed inside that El Paso Walmart. The death toll mounting tonight. Turkey's military assault on U.S. allies, on the Kurds who helped the U.S. fight ISIS. President Trump pressed on this late today as well. Tonight we learn of the Americans inside that synagogue, the deadly attack. Tonight the gunman now charged. The bus driver facing charges tonight, cursing, getting physical with a child, slamming on the brakes, that child then heading into the windshield. What authorities are now saying tonight.
This is ABC World News Tonight with David Muir.
Good evening. It's great to have you with us here on a Thursday night. We have several developing stories as we come on, and we begin tonight with the out-of-control fires right now. Homes at this hour engulfed in flames. Here are the pictures coming in now, burning through a neighborhood near San Bernardino, California at this hour. Evacuations are underway at homes and schools, and reports at one school, children are now sheltering in place. Some homes reportedly already destroyed tonight, burned to the ground. ABC's Kayna Whitworth leads us off. She's live right there in Los Angeles with the images. Kayna, what do we know?
Yeah, David, so we've been facing these extreme fire conditions all week long with these Santa Ana winds and near zero humidity. So if we take you to the Sandalwood fire that is burning out of control just east of Los Angeles near Calamisa, firefighters are telling us, David, they don't know when they can get a handle on this fire. Right now, CAL FIRE telling us that numerous structures have been destroyed. Many of them are mobile homes. What we know so far is 150 acres have burned, and this fire is growing quickly. They are closing roads. They are evacuating areas as quickly as possible. The mayor, as you mentioned, saying that some middle school students are actually sheltering in place. That is something terrifying for every parent to hear this afternoon. Winds are whipping through that area again, through these incredibly dry conditions. Now, this is unprecedented fire danger throughout the West, the most extreme conditions that we have seen out here in years. And David, right now what we're experiencing, this is what firefighters were the most afraid of.
The dramatic pictures near San Bernardino tonight. Kayna Whitworth leading us off. Kayna, thank you. Of course, this is not the only fire burning in California right now. There is also a wildfire emergency to the north of where Kayna is. Homes now threatened in the hills east of San Francisco tonight. Families already forced to evacuate there. Reports of children racing into their parents' room, saying the hills are on fire. Millions have already been without power. We have reported on that, a preemptive move by the power companies so that the lines will not spark any more fires. ABC's Will Carr on that part of the story tonight.
Tonight, Diablo winds fanning fires across Northern California. The Merrill fire forcing families from their homes in the middle of the night.
My daughter came running into our bedroom screaming the hill is on fire.
Another fire breaking out on San Bruno Mountain.
Look at all those homes that lie in wait.
PG&E, after being held responsible for previous devastating blazes, now trying to prevent fires proactively by shutting off power to hundreds of thousands across the region. That includes Perry Beastman.
He's 90 years old. He's blind.
And now Beastman is trapped in his home, unable to use his electrical-powered lift one day before his 91st birthday.
It's just gone on too long.
Tonight, it's unclear how long the power will be off here in Northern California. Southern California faces a red flag warning through Friday. David.
Will Carr and Kayna Whitworth from California tonight. Thanks to you both. And this is not the only weather emergency playing out as we come on tonight. There is also a crippling blizzard. The National Weather Service calling it a potentially historic October winter storm. Up to 2 feet of snow, dangerous driving already. Take a look. Multiple accidents tonight, a treacherous commute. That's I-25 in Colorado, and a 60-degree drop in just the last 24 hours in Denver. ABC's Clayton Sandell from Denver tonight.
The season's first winter blast tonight, causing a lot of slipping, sliding, swerving, and smashing. Snowy roads from Rapid City, South Dakota to Billings, Montana. Colorado commuters caught on Interstate 25 needed help from firefighters. Even their big trucks skidding on the icy pavement. The cold burst striking less than 3 weeks after the official end of summer. Temperatures in Denver nosedived overnight 50 degrees from a balmy 80 to 30. At Denver's airport, more than 100 flights canceled, more than 700 delayed. And David, blizzard warnings are now going up in the plains, and it's still very cold. It could fall to 15 degrees here tomorrow, and if that happens, it would be the largest two-day temperature drop in 6 years. David?
Whiplash in Denver and in the middle of the country tonight. Clayton, thank you. So how long will the red flag warnings last in California? And what about this major winter storm? We're also following the nor'easter in the east. So let's get to meteorologist Rob Marciano. He's tracking it all. And again, another busy night, Rob.
Very much so, David, and this snowstorm very much connected to those Santa Ana winds. It's an impressive storm, as Clayton mentioned, huge temperature drops and big-time snowfalls of record-breaking proportions up and over 10 inches, and it's still piling up there. Ahead of it, we have severe thunderstorm watches for parts of Texas, Oklahoma, and through Missouri, and that blizzard warning is going to remain up in North Dakota right through Saturday, and the temperatures dropping potentially below freezing all the way into Texas. So we have freezing watches and warnings there. That nor'easter still offshore, and just east of here, they're really getting some ugly weather. Long Island and eastern New England with rain and wind and coastal flooding. And then in the west, we still have a wide range of fire weather threat tonight, although tomorrow the focus is going to be more from Los Angeles to San Diego. Conditions there are getting extreme as we speak. David?
All right, Rob Marciano will be watching it all night for us. Rob, thank you. There is also a developing headline tonight involving the president's personal attorney, Rudy Giuliani. Two men helping Giuliani investigate Joe Biden in Ukraine. They're now under arrest tonight. The two men taken into custody at the airport with one-way tickets out of the U.S. just hours after having lunch with Giuliani at the Trump Hotel. Tonight, what they're charged with and their photographs with President Trump and his son. And the president, pressed on this late today, asked if Giuliani could be indicted next. Here's our Chief Justice correspondent, Pierre Thomas now.
The two American businessmen who helped the president's personal attorney, Rudy Giuliani, investigate Joe Biden in Ukraine were scheduled to appear before Congress today and tomorrow. Instead, Lev Parnas, who was born in Ukraine, and Igor Fruman, who was born in Belarus, were arrested overnight by the FBI at Dulles International Airport outside of Washington.
They were about to board an international flight with one-way tickets.
The Wall Street Journal reports that just hours earlier, they dined with Giuliani at the Trump Hotel. The men now charged with illegally funneling campaign contributions, including some from Russia, to a PAC supporting President Trump and other candidates as well. Federal prosecutors say they were doing it to buy potential influence. Photographs show them smiling with the president at the White House, at a table with his son, Don Jr. According to prosecutors, they were also hoping to force out the U.S. ambassador to Ukraine, Marie Yovanovitch.
They sought political influence not only to advance their own financial interests, but to advance the political interests of at least one foreign official, a Ukrainian government official who sought the dismissal of the U.S. ambassador to Ukraine.
The other person who allegedly wanted Ambassador Yovanovitch out, Rudy Giuliani, who was frustrated she was blocking his efforts to get Ukraine to investigate Biden. Yovanovitch was removed from her post, and Giuliani acknowledges he played a role. Her name later came up in President Trump's phone call with the Ukrainian president, Trump calling Yovanovitch bad news, adding cryptically, she's going to go through some things. Late today, the president saying he may have posed for pictures with the two men who were indicted, but that he does not know them.
Maybe they were clients of Rudy. You'd have to ask Rudy. I just don't know. Well, I hope not.
Let's get to Pierre Thomas with us live on this developing story in Washington. And Pierre, the former American ambassador you spoke of there, the ambassador to Ukraine, she's expected to testify before Congress tomorrow. But of course, the big question this evening is, will she actually be allowed to show up by the State Department?
David, Marie Yovanovitch is scheduled to appear before Congress first thing tomorrow morning. She's expected to attend, but David, the State Department could try to block her testimony at the last minute. And tonight we've learned lawmakers have also subpoenaed those two associates of Giuliani indicted today David?
Pierre Thomas tonight. Thank you, Pierre. The impeachment showdown this evening, and the president now lashing out after a new poll, this time from Fox News. 51% answering that poll now believe the president should not only be impeached, but also removed from office. And tonight, the president's supporters, from Republicans on the Hill to the president of Ukraine, all being asked, is it right to ask a foreign leader, a foreign government for help, investigating a political rival, and the difficulty they face in answering that question? Here's our chief White House correspondent, Jonathan Karl.
Late today, President Trump repeatedly defended his decision to ask the president of Ukraine to investigate Joe Biden.
We had a absolutely perfect conversation.
But vulnerable Republican senators like Cory Gardner of Colorado are now facing tough questions.
Do you believe it's appropriate for the President of the United States to ask a foreign leader to investigate a political rival? Yes or no?
Well, look, this is what we're going to get into. The Senate Intelligence Committee is having an investigation.
But the question is it appropriate for a president
Look, I think we are going to have an investigation, and it's a nonpartisan investigation.
But Senator,
it's a nonpartisan investigation. It's an answer that you get from a very serious investigation.
President Zelensky of Ukraine has said he didn't feel pressured by the president, and today he told Tom Yamas that he didn't think the president did anything wrong.
What do you think of a president asking a foreign nation to investigate a political rival? Is that corrupt?
I think that this is not correct because it was just called.
John Karl live at the White House tonight. And John, tonight you're also learning of yet other administration officials now being swept up in this impeachment inquiry.
David, the House Intelligence Committee has subpoenaed Energy Secretary Rick Perry. They want information about his interactions with Ukraine. Just last week, Perry said that he would cooperate with congressional investigators, but a senior White House official tells me tonight that they will instruct him to defy that subpoena as they have all others.
John Karl with us again tonight. Thank you, John. Next this evening, the death toll mounting in Turkey's military assault on America's Kurdish allies inside Syria. The Kurds, of course, helped the U.S. fight ISIS, and then they helped secure those ISIS fighters. Well, tonight, Turkey releasing images of their jets taking off for airstrikes. The Kurds with their own images of what they say is the destruction in Syria where they live. And, of course, caught in the middle, civilians now fleeing for their lives. Late today, President Trump was pressed on what the U.S. should do, knowing that the president talked to the president of Turkey right before all this happened. ABC's Ian Pannell from the region again tonight.
Tonight, Turkey's army pounding Kurdish targets in northern Syria. The US-backed allies, who lost 11,000 soldiers in the war against ISIS, are now fighting for their lives and homes, facing attack from the air and on the ground. Turkish-backed militias seen barreling their way into Syrian villages. At least 23 Kurdish fighters killed, and now reports children on both sides of the border among the dead. But the Turkish president defiant, tonight warning Europe that if it calls this an invasion, he'll open his borders and send 3.6 million refugees their way. Already tens of thousands are on the move. We met Najat Suleiman and her family. She says they fled after seeing civilians and children targeted in the strikes. She asked us, why did the Americans flee? Her 11-year-old son Mustafa lost his voice after hours of screaming in fear. With a strained voice, he tells us he was afraid for his life.
This is just the second day of bombing, and already you're just seeing people by the side of the road. They were in a van, they've got no belongings with them, they've got nowhere to go, they've got nowhere to stay.
We watched them clamber into the back of a passing truck and head off. With nowhere else to go, they say they'll sleep in the desert. After this assault was launched, the president called it a bad idea. But that came just days after the White House announced the Turks were moving in and US forces were moving out of the area. The president pressed again late today.
I hope we can mediate, John. I hope we can mediate.
Would you support sanctions?
I don't think we want to go back in. Let's see what happens. We are going to possibly do something very, very tough with respect to sanctions and other financial things.
The US now moving a number of high-value ISIS detainees out of the country, including 2 of the so-called Beatles, who were responsible for the execution of more than 24 Western captives. Now local officials are warning that the fighting here means an increased risk of a mass ISIS breakout. David?
Ian Pannell live from the region again tonight. Ian, thank you.